Hey everybody, welcome back. Happy New Year. Hope you had a great 2024. Looking forward to 2025 myself. And to kick it off strong, I wanted to feature another classic 80s synth riff recreation on some mini synthesizers. This time, the JX-08 and the Korg Volca Bass once again. I was a child of the 80s. I wasn't paying much close attention because I was a child. Now that I have kids of my own, I know exactly what that means. It's kind of funny to me what they pick up and what they don't pick up. And I was a teen in the 80s. I have distinct memories of synthesizer music on the radio, but I didn't take much interest in it other than it sounded cool. And for me, the top three synth riff songs of the early 80s were, of course, Jump by Van Halen, Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics. We know that one well. And this song, Sunglasses at Night by Corey Hart. So Corey Hart was a guitar guy. He could riff and jam like crazy on the guitar. Apparently, a man by the name of Richie Close performed the Prophet 5 on this song to get that really cool synth riff at the beginning. The gimmick with that particular song was it was hard panned left channel, right channel for each beat of the riff. So we can do that with the JX-08. We can go into the part menu and change the pan setting for each part. So we'll get to that in a minute. So the first thing I like to do is try to find a patch that sounds really close to that sound I'm looking for, and then change it to be more accurate, and then save it in a new location. And the Mammoth Strings patch in A21 is a great starting point. Let's listen to it. All right, so that has a little too much attack. Let's turn up the attack a little bit there on each envelope and see what that sounds like. Pretty good. A little too much sustain release, I think. So let's change those. All right, that sounds pretty good. Another thing we can do is we can add a little LFO on each DCO, and it will detune it slightly if we have it turned up just a little bit here. So turn the delay time all the way down, turn the LFO to like there, and we'll just put each of these, just slide them up a little bit there. Let's see what it sounds like. So you can experiment with the sound. I think that sounds great. What I want to do is save it in a new slot, and that will be D31. So let's start to dial it in like we're going to change it, but we're not. So let's go to D3 and then hold down the 1, and we're going to save that sound to D31. Now we're switched to D31, and it should sound like we left it. Great. All right, so now we're +1 octave to get to the right sound starting point, and we want to just program in the first 8 steps. So let's go to the sequence menu, and let's pick the scale and turn that down because these are 1/8 notes. And the tempo is like 128. We're going to go a little lower tempo to avoid issues, hopefully posting this. And we're also going to change, I should mention, let's set the step length to 6 first and get back to the menu. I should mention I'm going to change the, retune this down 3 semitones. So it originally starts on F, but we're going to start on D so we can fit it in here and riff a little bit with the C note at the top. So it just adds some more flexibility working with a mini synthesizer, and hopefully we'll avoid issues posting this video online. So let's see, let's start recording the steps in, and we're gonna hold the first part down, the first step down. So I'm gonna hit start. So this is step record mode. Now we're gonna start recording the first step. I'm just gonna punch it in. So like I was playing earlier. And now we're done recording, and I can just play it back. So there we have the riff. Now we want to copy that riff, and we want to duplicate it 3 times. Once we'll fill this out, twice will take us to 32 steps, and third duplication will take it to 64 steps. So we go back in here, and I think it's number 6, duplicate once, duplicate twice, duplicate again, and then we can verify by paging through the pages and see they're all filled in. So now we need to change on page 2, the first 2 steps here and the first 2 steps here need to change to an E. So we started with D, we go to E, and then go down to D sharp in this method. So we should be on page 2. We will start here and we'll hit start. We're in step record mode again. Go back to note mode, press E twice. Now I can just turn the dial to move through the steps until I see another D, because I know that's what I need to change. So now we're in step 25, which is technically here. So now I can press E 2 more times. And I can use the same technique to do the D sharp. So I'll keep turning to the right until step 32. 33 should be a D again, that's correct. And then hit that twice. Keep going until I see a D. There we go. And those are replaced. And now I'm done. So I can hit menu and we can listen to the whole sequence. All right, we've got the whole thing in. So for now, I started us off on sequence or bank 71 for patterns and sequences. So let's save that there. So part A is filled in. Now we need to just copy part A to part B, change the pan, hard left, hard right, and then deactivate steps on each of the parts to complement the other part. So it goes left, right, left, right. This is where you can mix things up. And I think it's easiest to just restore, start again. So after I get this copied over, we're going to save the sequence. And we're going to have a recovery point if we need it. So now I'm going to switch us to part B, go into sequence menu, and now we're going to paste it in. And we'll just verify, yep, we've got all 4 steps. We are on part B. Let's change the patch to D31. Oh, and I cleared a note. This is the mistake. This is the mistake you can make. So easy recovery now is, since I haven't saved it, I'm going to paste again. So we're going to get everything back the way it was. So when you're in sequence mode and you hit any of these buttons, you clear that step and you can't unclear it. You have to reprogram the step. So that's a little gotcha there. So get us out of sequence mode. Now let's change the patch to D31. Okay, now we're good. Part A and part B should be duplicate, basically. And let's save this again in case we make a mistake on the next step. So the next step is part A is going to be our left channel. Let me get out of that menu. We're now in sequence mode on part A, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the second, every other step, starting with the second step, all the way through the whole sequence, all 4 pages. And if we make a mistake on this, as you saw earlier, if we clear a step we didn't need to have cleared, we have to reprogram it in. So depending on how your workflow is, that might be more frustrating than just recovering from a checkpoint and starting again, which I think is a little easier in this case. So that's part A, and I've turned off the second step, every other step for part A. So now I'm going to go to part B, and we're going to do the same thing, only I'm going to turn off the first step, every other step, for all 4 pages. So don't make a mistake. We can do this. And this will be the right channel. And again, I'm flipping this from the original recording, so hopefully we can avoid any issues. All right. So this is right. Let's just go back and forth between the parts, and we'll see that this is now this way, and this is this way. That means we get the parts staggered correctly. Now we can save this. So let's go back. We're going to save this. And we're mostly done. Now all we need to do is get into the part menu and go to pan. And now we are on part A, so we are going to pan all the way to the left. And now we can just switch over to part B, and we're still in the pan edit menu. So we can switch all the way to the right on part B, and we can exit out and see we are on part B, part A, part B. And let's listen to it. We should hear the full effect. Yeah, it sounds good. So the only drawback of doing this particular technique for this particular song is that I can't, just dynamically change the cutoff and start to change the mix a little bit without only affecting one channel. I'd have to switch back and forth and make micro changes to kind of make it work. Or if I was using an external sequencer, I could make those changes to both tracks 11 and 12 or whatever MIDI channel I have assigned, and I could do it that way. But at any rate, this is an accurate sounding reproduction of Sunglasses at Night on the Roland JX-08. So now let's move over to the Korg Volca Bass and recreate it there. All right, so we have the Korg Volca Bass here, and I've got a patch sheet for this particular sound. I think it's close, but it's not as good as the JX-08 in my opinion, but it'll give us a nice synth sound. So let's dial this in. And here are the actual steps if you want to just have a go by yourself if you've watched the first part. So we'll turn the decay release here. We want to shave off the attack so it's not so rough. And turn the peak down, turn the cutoff a little west of center. Now, the interrupt in the pitch, we're going to take advantage of that to spice up the mix a little bit because it doesn't sound as good as the JX-08 sequenced. But there is other things we can do with Korg Volca Bass to kind of punch up the mix in the end. So let's give it a try. So what's this sound like? Oh, and we also need sustain and amp on. Let's lock the rate in here. Actually, no, let's leave the rate unlocked. Let's just leave it down around 32. Kind of long variance with the cutoff, but we're going to use that LFO trick to kind of spice it off later. All right, so let's program in the sections. So step record mode, And we start with D. B flat, A, G, and repeat. Now, because we are doing eighth note steps, we want to half the tempo. So I already had it halved, but it's originally at like 128. We're using 120 tempo. So let's bring this down to 60 and give it a listen. All right, ELFO is kicking in a little bit. So I'm going to add a little effects from the mixer. To kind of give it that finished sound. It's close. It's not perfect. Maybe turn the cutoff down. I don't know. It's really the attack, I think, that kind of messes it up. It's a little... And when you turn it down, then it just gets kind of weak. That's pretty close. We'll accept it for now. All right, so let's save that on track 1. And we're going to save it on 2 and 3 as well. So we want that to be the D sharp for the first 2 steps here, and then the next 2 steps on 9 and 10. So we're going to go separate chord mode. And then hit play until we get to step 9 and play the same 2 notes again. And then save that to 3. Recall 2, and 2 we want to put the E on the first 2 in the steps 9 and 10 as well. So E, and then play until we get to step 9, and then do E again, and then we're done. And then we're going to save that here. Now, in order to play this back, we have to manually switch between songs. The Volca Bass does not have a song chaining mode, sadly. So the cool thing about that, though, is when you switch to a new song, it starts playing from the step you switched on. And since the last 6 steps of every step are every song section here are the same, we can switch right after 9 and 10 are played. So here we go. We're going to memory up 1. So to spice it up, what we can do is we can do a little slide edit and put a slide here. Whoops. Slide edit. We slide here, here. And do that the same thing here. Now we'll throw in a little weird LFO. We'll turn this to a square and switch to amp. Turn the amp way up. And get some cool effects with this classic riff by Corey Hart from the early 80s, Sunglasses at Night. What a fun riff. What a fun time. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, you know what to do. And we'd love to have you stick around. There's going to be more tutorials like this. And we are going to have some fun in 2025.